Regretting You is the latest Colleen Hoover story to be adapted into a movie, and with it being focused on two couples that were connected by a sister, when a fatal accident caused two deaths in the family, lies and secrets within both relationships started to unfold, and the trauma of feeling like her life was wasted 17 years ago was being pushed upon Morgan's daughter Clara, and it caused the mother and daughter relationship to drift further apart with the hopes of protecting her from the truth. So with that, let's dive into the ending of the movie. I'll break it down and answer if it's worth watching. Here is a review of Regretting You and the ending explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. My review of the movie. I thought this movie was okay. When comparing it to It Ends With Us, personally, I preferred the first movie. In terms of the story, I thought it was pretty interesting and the themes that were explored were quite powerful. I thought the whole idea of making the wrong decision in life and winding up down a pathway in a life that you didn't truly want to be a part of, and it taking the death of the two people that you're closest to that were actually betraying you, was a powerful plot. I also thought it was quite a thought-provoking subject where the two people that you were closest to doing something like going behind your back and betraying you by cheating on you, but ultimately ending up dying, resulting in you not being able to be mad at them, caused an itch in my brain that I couldn't quite scratch. You'd want to be mad, but at the same time you'd be devastated because your sister and husband would both be dead. Personally, I found Morgan and Jonah's grief to be a little bit on the back burner for the most part, and I thought they'd be a bit more devastated, but I'm guessing the revelation that they were being betrayed for the most part of their relationship was something that caused that strange feeling. I thought the whole opening of the movie and establishing the plot which was leading to the death of Chris and Jenny was also handled really well. All I knew going into the movie was that there was an accident, and I didn't know who would be in the accident or what would happen, so at first I thought it might have been Clara. But the way that they surprised us in telling us that it was Chris and then finding out through Jonah that Jenny was killed too and it showing that they were having an affair was a moment that had me sat there with my mouth wide open and in complete shock. I also thought the movie making out like Jonah and Morgan were unfaithful during the beginning with the look that they gave each other in the van and the pregnancy test when they were younger, and Jonah potentially being the father to Clara, but it turning out that they'd never even kissed was a cool twist. It showed how pure they were, and it made the likes of Jenny and Chris seem even more villainous for the actions that they carried out. The use of individual trauma was also handled really well in this movie. We saw that Morgan was projecting her regrets in life in being the uninspired, predictable housewife onto her daughter, and the relationship that she was getting into with Miller. She thought that Miller was just going to turn out to be another Chris-type character, when in reality, Miller was more of a Jonah, the person that she wished that she had always been with. So in the end, with her welcoming him into the family, it showed that she was fully accepting of him. One thing that I wasn't really a fan of and I thought felt a bit rushed was the repairing of Morgan and Clara's relationship. It took Clara being drunk in the graveyard and for her to find out that her father was cheating on her mother for her to just all of a sudden have a change of heart and say, "You deserve to be happy." Chris was the parent that she was closest to and her aunt was essentially her idol. So to not even question any of it or have any kind of true emotional response was something that I didn't think made complete sense. When it came to Miller and Clara's relationship, it was quite wholesome to watch on screen and it was fun watching it develop, but I didn't really feel that emotionally attached to it. I preferred the family drama that was unfolding and the dynamic between the mother and daughter. In terms of the performances, I thought all of the main cast did pretty well. However, what I will say is that I thought Alison Graham's performance as Morgan was definitely the weakest in the movie. Whenever she'd get into an argument with Clara, it just became extremely unbelievable and I thought her character slipped slightly. The scenes with Dave Franco worked quite well and I bought into those, but the constant "you're grounded" chat was just a bit weak. Maybe the way the dialogue was written didn't help that much, but I thought it was probably the poorest part of the movie. In terms of the soundtrack, I thought all of the songs were chosen well. From the ones that played over the credits to When You Were Young by the Killers over the opening scene. It's right what Jonah said. Music does really take you back, and that song instantly made me think of being younger. Overall, when it comes to if this movie's worth the watch, personally, I'd say it's probably worth the watch if you like that type of movie. It's not incredible, don't get me wrong, but for what it is, it's pretty enjoyable. The twist did surprise me, and who doesn't love a good old-fashioned love story of two people coming together? It's quite surface level, but for a Sunday afternoon trip to the cinema with your partner, or even just watching it by yourself, just like me, it works out pretty well. The ending explained and the core themes of the movie. When it came to the ending of this movie, there were a few core themes that were explored. The first was the focus on trauma and the regrets that people have in life shaping their future and their child's future. We saw this with the fact that Morgan and Jonah regretted not being with each other and being with who they deemed as the wrong partners, but ultimately finding each other in the end. Morgan was described as predictable and an uninspired housewife that didn't accomplish anything in life, and that was put down to the fact that she had Clara when she was 17 years old and she essentially gave up her life to raise her. She didn't regret her life, so to speak, but with the death of her husband Chris and it turning out that he was unfaithful, it made her hold some regrets. Regrets like staying with him for as long as she did when deep down she wanted to be with Jonah, and Jonah also felt the exact same. The opening scene with them in the car and the look that they gave each other made out like they were the ones that were having the affair, but in reality they were as loyal to their partners as they could possibly be. The giving of the watermelon sweets and the looks that they shared, they should have been with each other from the beginning, but they were just with the people that were the opposites. Chris and Jenny acted on their thoughts and showed that they were cheating all along. Secrets and lies were also a core theme of the movie, especially when it came to the mother and daughter. Morgan and Clara were never the closest, however the secret that she was hiding from her daughter, which was protecting her father and her auntie and the infidelity, the woman that she idolized, ultimately ended up being the very thing that was driving a wedge between them and causing them to fall further and further apart. This led Clara to act out and project outwardly onto Miller and damage that relationship, and when Morgan and Jonah were found kissing after they admitted that they were truly in love, it meant that without explanation, Clara didn't understand. What the ending showed us was that lies ultimately don't help anybody, which is obvious to say, but there were layers to it within the movie. There were lies about the true love that Morgan and Jonah originally felt for each other. There were lies between Chris and Jenny when they were having the affair. There were lies that were being kept between Morgan and her daughter when she was protecting Chris after he died, and there were lies that Clara was keeping from Miller in using him to get revenge. What we saw at the end was that once everybody was open and honest with each other, the issues were solved, their lives could move on in the way that they wanted them to, and they were all closer than what they were at the start. Jonah was with Morgan, Clara was with Miller, Miller was going off to film school and didn't need to worry about money because his granddad was honest about the heir that he owned. And them all being there, sitting, watching a film, which was the very thing that symbolized Clara's closeness with her father, was something that she was now doing with her mother. So there were no secrets, no lies, and no more regrets. They were now moving forward in life. So, there you have it, a review of Regretting You and the ending explained. If you want to see more movies from this year being broken down, then check the playlist below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. What did you think of this movie? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.